If you want to be right, blame your circumstances. If you want to be better, blame yourself. Welcome to Coach's Corner, episode 47. I am Coach Justin Schollard.
And I am Ethan Wolf.
And this is our first recording of the new year, 2025. And so what we're going to do is just take a moment to reflect on our experiences this last year working with clients and what we've seen work and what we've seen not work as far as just like maintaining long-term results, which of course is what everybody wants. Nobody wants to just lose 20 pounds and gain it all back, I'd imagine.
Nope.
And then also maybe just some smart goal setting, not the acronym SMART, but just more of practical, realistic, kind of playing the long game goal setting. Again, kind of all in this umbrella of what works,
we're in the new year.
Don't do things that have never worked. So let this be the year that we stop doing things that have never worked.
Right.
How was this year for you, man, as far as clients and what you see on the ground?
I would say pretty good. I mean, I had my one client, my star guy, he lost like 70 pounds in the year.
So cool.
Yeah, and it was an interesting journey because he definitely came in with some food habits. Some of them he cut himself before he got in, like he stopped drinking soda and that kind of stuff. But it was really interesting because he dove into it head first and took it seriously. But it was a fun way to kind of really see just him counting calories and doing the macros.
Taking ownership over it.
Yeah, taking ownership over it, making it his identity in a way or his new hobby. And also just getting to see him enjoy his life and be able to, still go out or eat certain foods that he really likes and things of that nature. And just see that, like, if somebody applies themselves with the tools, that you can make it work. And, he lost all that weight and is a new person and has the tool set and,
It's so crazy. I mean, a quote that I just heard recently that I love is like, if you want to be right, blame your circumstances. If you want to be better, blame yourself. It's like taking responsibility. Yeah. And it's like, it's not about your genetics. It's not about your childhood. It's not about the place you live in or your partner or your work. It's like, it's you. And if we're going to grow and accomplish amazing things like that and truly like transform your life. I mean, if you lose 70 pounds, you are a different person inside and out.
100%.
But that can't happen if you're blaming your circumstances. That can't happen if you're not taking 100% responsibility for where you are and then taking step by step, day by day actions towards that reality. So it's just so amazing to see that.
It is. It's really cool. And I think, there can be lots of obstacles, but I do think it just comes down to taking the time to look at what might be something that you have to work towards and through and whatever it is. And then just, again, I think one of the biggest things is like educate yourself, learn the tools so that there can be the path of least resistance. Like this will always take effort, right? It's always going to take some form of discipline, something that you're probably not going to want to do. But I think if you learn the tools and you have your little tool belt filled with all the knowledge and knickknacks and paddywhacks, that at least you can then kind of maneuver your way through in the easiest way possible.
Yep, exactly. It's like the learning curve might be a little bit higher than what you had thought. But once you get over that learning curve, once you just kind of like get past that skill acquisition period, it's just so smooth now versus avoiding the learning curve and just keep trying to like go for these like cut corner and get fit quick schemes and just like always feeling frustrated because it never feels easy. It always just feels like you're just failing. Or if you just do it the right way, like you said, and acquire the skill, embrace frustration, embrace the learning curve, get over the hump, and then just like, man, it's just easy, smooth sailing, path of least resistance from there on out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's interesting. And I think, in a time like this, what I would say to people considering it's New Year, oftentimes where resolutions and fitness goals come into place is that, you might, that the idea that motivation and inspiration are great things. They're great jump starters, but as we know, emotions wax and wane. And if we only act upon how we feel, we probably won't accomplish much. And so something I've been kind of telling people is like, look, if you have a moment of inspiration or motivation, to then use that and create some type of goal, create some type of trajectory based on this little gift you have, which is great. Being motivated or inspired
desire
is a great thing. and then write it out, get it set, and then lock down into a projected mental framework, so to speak, that this emotion will probably at one point go away, and that but now at least hopefully that emotional moment created a plan and created a trajectory, and that you're going to have to kind of bite the bullet to that idea of maintaining that trajectory will take some hard times.
Totally.
There'll be things that you aren't going to want to do. There are going to be moments where you don't want to get up or do the this or do the that, whatever it might be. And I think that, like we talked about in the previous episode, right, that action breeds emotion, or, you know, that kind of an idea. And I think so often that if we can just commit to whatever it is, when we find ourselves on the other side, it's going to be that much better. We'll feel better for it. And we'll be that much closer to creating that consistency and that habit. But I think that's just one thing, you know, and even for me kind of going in, I've got some plans for the new year that aren't always all fitness related, but some of fitness related. And, you know, I'm feeling kind of inspired right now, and I'm doing basically that exact thing where I'm trying to be like, okay, what's the plan? And then understanding that there are going to be times that I don't want to do it, but I have to kind of keep my eye on the prize and do it anyway. And that's, I think, also where I think I was talking about the tools, because it's like, if you're trying to get your finances together, like use like QuickBooks or use an app that organizes things. Like, you know, obviously you're going to still have to do new behavior. That new behavior might be scary or intimidating, and you might fumble. But there are just so many tools to make so many things easier.
Totally.
Like getting an online coach, or at least educating yourself about macros off YouTube, or whatever it might be. Is just like educating yourself and giving yourself the tools so that when those hard times come around, they can be a little less difficult.
When they inevitably come around. When motivation inevitably wanes.
Yeah.
When the spark of inspiration inevitably goes away.
Yeah.
And you're left with just you and the same person that has struggled with this thing for so many years. And it's like that moment, that intersection of like, do I want the instant gratification of sleeping in, of ordering takeout, of binge watching TV or social media when I should be working out? Do I want the instant gratification of indulgence, or do I want the long-term satisfaction of self-discipline?
Yeah.
And you don't need to read 1,000 self-help books to figure this out. It is in the moment when that alarm goes off, when you've scheduled a 5 p.m. workout and it's 5 p.m.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
Gotta get in there.
When you go grocery shopping and you buy all your meals, and then you come home from work, now it's time to turn the oven on and cook the damn thing that you've prepared. You know, are you going to do that, or are you going to order takeout? So it's these moments, and it's like we got positive feedback loops and we have negative feedback loops. And, you know, I don't think that we would ever get rid of our negative feedback loops. In other words, like our bad habits, our conditioned responses. I don't think we could ever get rid of them. They're always going to like be the shadow self of us.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we can keep stacking wins and keep creating these positive feedback loops, meaning that you finish a long day of work, you have a 5 p.m. workout, you're already starting the mental chatter to try to talk yourself out of it, but you choose to do it anyways. You do the hard thing anyways. So what you've just done there is you've created a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is it's like a flywheel, and that big flywheel gets moving, and you start to stack more and more and more of these positive feedback, these wins that disproportionately outweigh the negative ones. The negative ones are always there. Like we were talking about in our last episode, like, you know, negativity, just like complacency, anger, laziness, that's easy. That's like the lowest common denominator of human beings. But the hard stuff, man, that is a daily battle you have to win anew each and every day.
100%.
And it's just, but you can get in momentum and you keep stacking those wins, and that's it. That's truly the secret, I think, to just long-term success in anything. Fitness is a microcosm for life.
Of course, yeah.
But truly, like, it's just right now, rubber meets the road. In this instance, what am I going to do? And if you can just keep choosing the right thing and the hard thing, your life will probably look a lot different in a year from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so much of it is like, it's you know, the idea of like being comfortable being uncomfortable. You know, so often those moments that we don't want to do something, we face some emotion in us, some resistance that is uncomfortable. Like the thought of exercising might reflect to you that you're out of shape. You know, you feel fat. You get winded. It's like sometimes kind of confronting the behavior or entering into the behavior of something that you want to change. Oftentimes we want to change negative things about us or things we don't see as well. And so if we're overweight and all of a sudden we start to do the workout journey and it feels foreign to us, like that might bring up a huge mirror of all our insecurities and our self-consciousness. And so often, regardless, just an example that there's always negative emotions that are kind of behind the starting of a behavior. Like I know for me, when I'm fresh, and even if it's something I've thought about for a long time and I start to do it, it's like because things haven't changed yet, it often puts the mirror up to me. And I don't like the mirror. And that often is something that I'll be like, well, I now want to avoid that mirror. And so if I don't work out, if I go watch TV instead or get on social media or do whatever, don't cook my own food and I'll do it tomorrow, whatever. So I think it's just like kind of understanding that sometimes we just kind of have to be with our emotions, right? Like they talk about processing emotions as having to feel them versus avoid them.
Yep.
And so it's almost like just like having like, it's almost like you can put up like a little force field around yourself that can help if you know that that's going to come. And that when you feel that, you just have to be present with it. And it's going to be uncomfortable probably. But that if you can just be with that emotion and just feel it and just let it be and then still move forward anyway with it, that you kind of have to get through that little baptism by fire, especially I think when you start something new or start something fresh and start something to work on a part of yourself that you want to improve, meaning you probably see it as something that could be better. But like Justin was just saying, as you do that and you wade through those potentially negative emotions and do the thing anyway, you'll start to get momentum. You'll start to lose a little weight. You'll start to save a little money. You'll start to have a better relationship. You'll start to just feel better, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, the efforts will start to have some reward behind them. But I think it's just like a little shout out that like it's going to be the hardest in the beginning. And if you can recognize that, when you confront that hardness, you can at least know what's going on versus just being like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. And fumbling to never really start and get the consistency, to get the momentum, to get the benefits.
And it's like reframing this as like what if you embraced frustration. Like I think that like this is a concept that I am really hot on lately, is like it is about the game we are playing is frustration tolerance. Can you tolerate being frustrated?
Right.
Or can you not? Because if you can't tolerate frustration is just another way of saying like basically accomplishing something, learning a new skill, like achieving something great for yourself. Like there is a rite of passage that you must go through to earn it, because everybody wants to get fit. Nobody wants to get fit slow. Nobody wants to get rich slow. But the one thing that most people who have done both those things have in common is it took fucking time. Yeah. And you have to learn how to do it and go through frustrations, and you just gotta kind of fail faster. It's almost like you just have to get through. You have to test more things, so that way you can fail faster. So then you can eventually arrive on the correct solution.
Right.
This is in business. This is in fitness. It's like if you only take one shot a year and you fail, how many decades is it going to be before you might hit a winner?
Right.
Versus like, okay, you know what? Like, let's just keep trying. Like, turns out I don't like Pilates. Turns out, I don't like keto. Turns out I don't like this. These didn't work. But then you finally, through that, kind of stumble upon, now you know you don't want. Now it's like, okay, I got it. So it's like giving yourself permission to feel frustrated and understanding that frustration is part of the process. It's part of acquiring a lifetime skill that's going to benefit you forever. And when you learn how to work for it and you learn how to tolerate that frustration, you teach yourself how to keep it. But one thing you're saying about emotions is like, emotions are fleeting. And like when you look at it, like remember like the 10-minute trick, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm not saying I'm not gonna order takeout. I'm just gonna do it in 10 minutes. Right. It's like all you're doing is essentially creating a little space between stimulus and response.
That little tickle.
That I want to buy this thing so bad, or I want to order this takeout so bad, or name your thing. And you're just like, all right, I'm not telling myself no. I'm just saying that I'm going to do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, let me walk away.
Yeah, let me just go like use the bathroom, get a glass of water, just like chill for a second, and then I'm going to do it when I come back. Because that desire, that emotion at that point is probably fleeted, your better sense might come in and you might go, nah, it's all good. I'll
Yeah,
just,
I don't need to buy this pair of shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I already have this. Or,
Yeah.
you know,
how many more pairs of white Nikes do I need?
Yeah. I don't need another sun hat. I already have a sun hat.
Yeah.
You know?
So, you know, it's just like these little, it's like, this is, I think, you know, the ancient philosophy of just knowing thyself. I don't know who said that, if it was Aristotle or, you know, one of these guys, Socrates. But, you know, it's just like, know thyself. And it's like, I know that I get very excited. I want things yesterday. And because I know my own propensities, I then can now develop sort of tricks and hacks to like purposefully either stall myself from making a decision that I might regret later, or accelerating myself on something that I'm procrastinating. So like learning how to like almost like in a way manipulate yourself to keep yourself in the parameters that, you know, when you're not attached to something and you're just thinking clearly, you know you need to stay in this lane. But then you get in the weeds of it and all these great shiny objects pop up at you and all these options, and you kind of lose yourself a little bit. But the rules you set for yourself when you're up here with a clear mind and detached, it's like you need to create little tricks and hacks for yourself to trick yourself into either getting your butt into the gym and working out, or, you know, pausing on making an impulsive decision or whatever. So when you're in the weeds and you're actually on the battleground, you have a strategy to kind of keep yourself in parameters, so you don't just fly off to Pluto and regret your decisions.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's like they talk about it. Yeah, it's like they always say, like, you have to create your plan when you're not in the state of being you're trying to fight.
Yeah, that's
right?
a great.
So it's like if you have an
much more concise way of what
but it's like if you have like an anger issue and you have an anger management, and so there's all these like strategies of like, okay, you need to learn when you're getting upset and become aware of that, and when does it become physiological? Like, when do you actually start to get like higher heart rate, your palms sweat? Because they say if you have like an anger component, they like once you become physiological, it's very hard to turn the process
flooded
around.
as
the cortisol
says,
it gets all crazy. And so, you know, there's like these strategies of like, okay, you need to learn like on a scale of 1 to 10 what number is you that you get physically activated, your nervous system starts to go, the hormones. Might be a 2, might be a 9 for you, but it's like you have to like learn where that is and name that for yourself. And then from there, it's like to create strategies, almost like an alarm system in your house where you're like, I realize I'm approaching a 4. If I hit 4, I'm going to go to that place. It's not going to be good. I don't want to do that. I've now created strategies, self-talk, breathing, taking a walk, and doing all these things. But all these strategies and plans, they say that you have to do it in a clear mind.
Yeah.
You have to create the framework when you're not in that place so that you have the tools ready. And if you always try to kind of create change, I think, out of the place that doesn't serve you, it's going to be much harder. You're always going to feel defeated immediately. And that kind of thing. And so I think it's always the same way. It's like whatever your goal is, you have to kind of find a moment when you're kind of centered, when you're feeling good, take a bath, get calm, do whatever. And then I think kind of start to look at your trajectories, look at your plans, look at how you're going to lose weight, kind of create the plans for yourself when you're not caught in the emotions. Like you might be like, oh, I feel terrible about myself. I'm so fat. I'm overweight.
And then next thing you know, you do a detox or something like that.
Yeah, or like the idea of starting. It's kind of like I think what I was saying before. It's like the idea of starting to change and to do something different when you're in the mud pits. Just feels like, well, what's the point?
No, the first step is to get out of the mud pits.
You gotta mentally. It can be hard, but it's like, and so often just like taking a walk and do it. But it is an interesting thing of just like framing your future path in a place where you're not caught up and you're thinking clearly a little bit. I think is very helpful.
And then, like, you know, basically don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry.
No, exactly. That's 100%, you know.
That's it, essentially, right? It's like, you know, plan for yourself, you know, before it's urgent. Yeah. Before it's like super high stakes is when you want to make these plans.
That's the truth, man.
But yeah, and so, you know, just going to like, okay, what do we do then? Yeah, I'll be lying if I'd said that like I don't look at New Year's. We've talked about this as like an opportunity to sort of at least set some intentions. You know, like I'm not a big like resolutioner. I'm not going to resolve to like do anything because I feel like this is a iterative process that happens over the course of your lifetime, and one day doesn't necessarily change much emotionally, energetically, symbolically. But I think that you can certainly set intentions. So, I own my own business. I have a staff. There's payroll, there's marketing, there's all kinds of stuff. And what's interesting is like, you can take all these sort of like common concepts and you just reframe it from like a business lens. And it's like you wouldn't exactly think of like a stuffy corporate CEO or executive like vision boarding or like, setting their goals and intentions, but that's how business goes, right? It's like you have, okay, what's our quarterly target? What's our annual target? How do we break that down into a monthly milestone, weekly? And now who's responsible for what? And then you delegate. And that's how a good business would run. And I think that like, it's not different necessarily from like a personal level of just like, we don't have to resolve to be different, but we can absolutely set intentions of like, hey, how do you want the first quarter of this year to go for you? Fitness, finance, relationship, career, whatever. Pick your two to four categories, and it's like, what is your intention over the next few months, and then over the next year, and then it's like, okay, now what does that look like? Extrapolate that down to like weekly milestones. Yeah. So if there's 12 weeks in this quarter, how will you know that you're on track? How do we measure success? Is there a milestone? Weight loss is easy. Let's say you want to lose 20 pounds over the next 13 weeks. Totally doable. You're looking at about 1.5 pounds a week. Yep. So that would be the weekly target to know that you're on track for that quarterly goal. Yep. Okay, well, how do we lose 1.5 pounds a week? You're gonna need to be at about a 700 calorie deficit per day. Yep. Okay, so then we figure out what's my maintenance calories, minus 700 from that number, hit my step goal, work out a few times a week in the gym with some weights. Don't overthink it. Rinse and repeat. Yep. But that's the objective. And I think that like that sort of like just intention and process orientation of like, okay, this is my process now. It's much more just like clear line, straightforward, very actionable, very, very quantifiable. Versus like, I'm just gonna resolve to be all these crazy things that like, I think they call it Failure Friday. But the second Friday of January, most people have quit their resolutions. But if you have this strategy, you're like, oh, this is what I got to do. I can just reverse engineer my goal. Yeah. And then just to boil it down to like my 2 to 3 daily objectives, and then just like, now there you go. There's your roadmap. That's how you set really strong intentions and reverse engineer it down to a daily step-by-step process.
For sure. And I think, it's fundamentally, it's like, as I'm listening to this, I'm just reflecting on the importance of the plan. Like you're talking about just having a plan. And because without the roadmap, without the plan, the odds that you're just going to be floating along, So it's like, oh, you have a resolution to lose weight or, to stop drinking or something, right? And it's just like, okay, then you stay that. And then like tomorrow comes, and then what? What is the plan? Well, how is it going to be different? What are you going to do differently? Are you going to get rid of all the alcohol in your house? Are you going to tell your friends and your partners that like I'm not going to be drinking for maybe a month, 3 months for an indefinite period of time? So I just want you to know that. So if we go out, I'll still go out with you. I'll get a soda, but like, just keep that in mind. Pressure. Yeah, no peer pressure. Just what is the strategy? Because I think if you just say, hey, I'm going to lose weight and start exercising. Okay.
Cool.
If you get a gym membership, then what? Okay. Like
and you go to the gym and you realize it's a shit show in there and you don't even know what you're doing. And
exactly.
You quit.
So then what's the plan? It's like, okay, well, at least I'm going to go these days. A step in the plan. Okay, I'm going to just go to do the treadmill. Fine. A plan, something, but just some type of intent, something you can aim towards so that you can kind of check it off the list if you've done it or not. Yeah. And it's like you said, it's like you go look a little farther out, reverse engineer it, and then you at least know if you're hitting your mark. And if you can just do that consistently, like the results will come. If you're looking to save more money for a trip or to go to some wedding in some crazy part of the world in the East somewhere or something, you're going to have to create some type of a plan. If you just say you want to save money, that's fine. But no, you need to look at how much money you made in a week and how much can you spare and all this, So it's just interesting because I think the plan is super important.
We have our wedding in Sri Lanka in 3 weeks, in case you're wondering. I'm dragging him along. And I think too, like, measuring measure success on, did you, like, in the beginning, success can be a binary, yes or no.
Right.
It doesn't need to be like what you necessarily did. Like you said, okay, I'm gonna work out, eat better this year. Cool, that's a pipe dream. Now the plan is I'm gonna go to the gym every morning at 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Cool. Now we got a little bit of a strategy. And I think that, like, in that scenario, if you are like a super noob or you've just been off your game for a minute, like, don't measure success on like what you think you should be doing at that time. Oh, it was so busy. I wasn't planning for that, for how busy it was. So I just ended up, doing some push-ups and walking the treadmill. Great. That's a win. Like, yes, there's an infinite amount of things you could have done.
You're right.
But the fact that you got your ass out of bed and you got to the gym before work and you just did it, even if you just walked a few miles and did 30 push-ups, like, that's something. You went from 0 to 1,
for sure,
which is often the hardest step. And so I think just measuring success on, did you actually show up the time that you've allocated for the thing that you say that you want to do? Yes or no? And if you can say yes, I would be stoked if I was your coach and you actually just did that. Like, that is all good. It doesn't need, because now we can get better in time. Now you're going to get more comfortable. Now it's 50 push-ups, and it's 50 push-ups, 50 squats, and it's some dumbbell work, and then you're using some machines, and now you've got a push-pull leg day, and then you're throwing some, and all of a sudden 3 months later you've got a full-ass progressive routine going here that you're really seeing some good results, right? So it's 100%. Like measuring success on, did you just show up at the time you said you would, and do your best. And if you can just say yes, that's a huge win.
100%. Because it really does, the consistency thing is the hardest thing and the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's just to keep it up and to show up all the time over and over again can definitely be challenging. And so I think, that's kind of what I was saying about the path of least resistance, is I think when you have the tools, you can maneuver through the winding road a little bit easier, right? So if you're looking to lose weight and you have an understanding of macros or portions, you understand you can eat a fist full of rice, but not more, whatever it is. You have some tools that can make things a little bit easier to be consistent, because without the consistency, nothing will come. And also, even if it's like a low level, like you said, if you had a whole leg day workout plan and every machine was taken and it was a mess in there and you just walked and did push-ups, like, that's still a win and that's still something consistent. And so just those lowest barriers of entry a lot of the time, over and over again, will climb you up the stairs.
100%. And I think too, like, also having contingency plans. So, like, let's say the goal is to give up drinking, or to give up, ordering takeout, or to, get to the gym a few days a week. Think of like a couple of if-then scenarios, so that you can be prepared for when you might run into a situation where you kind of feel pressured or out of sorts a little bit, but you've already thought through that. So if the gym is packed and there's no machines available, then I'll do this. Almost like plan A, plan B. Plan A is maybe like a full leg day.
Yeah.
But okay, every squat rack and dumbbell and leg press machine was taken. So plan B is I'm just going to do like, lunges, bodyweight squats, and incline walk. If then scenario. Okay, I want to, give up drinking for a few months. Great, but all my friends drink and they want to go out. So it's like, okay, I think you had a good point of like externalizing it in that case. I think with food and alcohol especially.
Yeah.
Don't internalize your goals. Externalize. There's accountability. Get it out of your mouth.
Yep.
If you're just thinking in your head, I'm not going to drink, and then your friend calls you like, oh, dude, I'm moving next week, man. I'm going to miss you. Let's get a drink. And you're like, well, none the wiser.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Fine. Yeah.
But if you kind of like make it known and like tell your friends and tell your significant others that like, hey, I'm just taking a couple months off from drinking. So if you, or eating out. So if you guys want to hang, I'm totally down. But just so this is what I'm doing, because I want
different decisions.
It brings all the power back to you. You externalize it. There's a group accountability now. No one's going to like peer pressure you or be caught off guard because you're different now. So there's a lot of power in that. But I think too, just like a couple of A/B scenarios, like, okay, if I find myself in this scenario, then I'm going to do this. Plan A, plan B, really set you up for the long haul. So you're not finding yourself in a situation where you're like, ooh, didn't think about this one.
Right.
Crap.
Yeah, like left in the field. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. So there you guys go. I think that's episode 47.
47, I believe.
Almost big 5-0.
Almost.
We finished a full year of these podcasts, just about, minus a couple weeks.
That's
Pretty
right.
cool.
Very cool.
And I think we've kind of found our voice, our groove a little bit, at least for now. I'm sure we'll look back in a year and be like, oh, we thought we had it figured out.
Yeah.
But it feels good. It feels like we're stumbling upon sort of a cool thing here at this Coach's Corner podcast, and I'm really excited for this next new year.
Yep.
And we'll check you all next week.
Yep.
Peace out.
Bye.